Morning, everybody. Thanks for stopping by to check out my shop today. We're going to go through a couple of spots of my shop. I'm going to show you where I'm at, what I've done, and what I hope to do in the future. So,
hey, Doug,
yes.
just as a preamble, guys, how many of you know that Doug has done so much in San Diego and then picked up and moved to Dayton, right?
I have, yes.
And so people should have we did not lose this man. We just lost him in a face-to-face, real-world sort of way. He's a regular participant in special interest groups. He's volunteered to show us his brand new shop in his brand new home. And I'm just so pleased that we haven't lost him. I'm sorry, Doug, I didn't want you to tear straight into the tour without people having a chance to be reminded of how you've run many classes. You did our Fast Start program. You ran our holiday gift sale initiative. You were involved in operating a lot of the shop. You have friends throughout this community. And then for some strange reason, you left us, but you're still around.
And I'm going to get to that. I'm going to get to that. So,
okay, good.
A little background on me.
But we still miss seeing him at the shop.
Well, thank you. So I have been dabbling in woodworking since I was 12, and I broke my grandfather's brand new bandsaw blade. So I wanted to figure out why I broke it and what I could do with a bandsaw as I aged. So throughout the years, I knew that I wanted to have a nice shop that I could come down to easily when I retired. So about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago, I started researching a place here in Dayton, Ohio, where I'm originally from. And I started researching where I could move to and what could benefit me for having a new shop, setting up a new shop. As most of us in San Diego are relegated to having a two-car garage, I had a shop in my two-car garage, but every year it just got smaller and smaller because I kept adding things. So it's like, it's my youngest son finally graduated high school this year. So in January, I moved here full time. But last summer, I started coming back and started planning the shop. So I started to pick everybody's brain back in the member shop and thought about, well, what about tool layout? What about electrical requirements? What about dust collection? All those things. And I will tell you, so Dallas and Scott Sipens have set up a great workshop. Yes.
Just a second. I've lost video and I see there's another chat. Has anybody got video?
No, not of Doug.
What happened?
Okay.
Doug, did you break the camera?
I didn't touch anything. So let me. Of course. Okay, am I back now?
You're back now.
Okay. I don't know what happened. So anyhow, I started picking everybody's brain on how to lay out a shop. And so like I was saying, Dallas and Scott Sipens have set up a upcoming workshop on how to start a shop. And it's going to be taught by David Wiseman. And I've already seen his material, and I will give a plug out for that right now because he addresses everything that I encountered in going through my shop. The layout, the dust collection, the electrical, how to do tool flow or workflow, stuff like that. So one of the first things I decided was I had a 1,300 square foot shop or 1,300 square foot basement that I had to figure out layout and everything. But within that, I had all my utilities, and then I had to find out a way to get everything down into my basement. ironically enough, a lot of older homes here in Dayton have what they call a walkout basement that you have like a double door that you could walk out from your shop into the yard. Because of the density of the buildings here, I was not able to get that. So I had to find a way to get everything into my basement. So as you'll see, as we go around, I ended up having to put an elevator in just to get things from the first floor down to the basement. And that also drove me to have to get a third car garage where I could pull all my material in and start to break everything down from there and get it into the elevator, because the elevator, as you'll see, is constrained by size. It's about 4.5 feet deep, about 6.5 feet tall, but the width is only 34.5 inches. So anything I do or make or bring in has to fit in that little container. So that kind of drove a lot of the layout and selection process too. I kept my 20-inch joiner and my chop saw up into what I call the dirty garage to break things down. And then once I get it to a sizable piece, then I'll bring it down into the shop. So one of the first things I did was work on the bench room, I call it. So the area that I'm in now has 2 benches with all of the clamps displayed on the background. I'm going to step out of the picture here and kind of sweep around a little bit. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. So that's on the one wall where all the small hand clamps are. And the bench area, for dimension wise, so it's 10 feet deep and 15 feet wide for the bench area. You can see here is the window. That is the only natural light coming into the basement. And believe it or not, I have the largest window on the whole block. And it's only because of the size of the basement. So that is, it called it, and they put it in because it's called an egress window. So I'll step around here a little bit. So I also put a shelf here to hold my trusty Steve Latta bench that I keep near my workbench, because this is really good to do detail work if you're doing chair legs or something. And I actually clamp all of my work in here to do dovetails. And it's closer for me to get up to chest level with my saw, and it's easy to flip over and put on the bench to go about making, chiseling out all your joints for your dovetails. I'm gonna swing it around.
Hey, Doug, what was the depth of that bench under the window? How far back is it?
That's so that is 10 feet back.
And the
So
depth of the surface itself?
the great question. So it is 8 inches wide and 4 feet long, the bench.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, and I have I don't know if you can see, but hang on a second. I have dog holes. I have dog holes in the top of the bench. And I just have a Mark 1 Mod 0 vise from Wackler to hold my boards in when I dovetail.
Do you work at it sitting there, or do you pick it up and move it over on top of your other bench and work standing?
I move it over to the bench here like this. It's really convenient because it clamps down. There's 2 hold downs here that I could clamp to the bench
Nice.
and then work from this direction when I'm dovetailing, or I can lay out my chair leg and work this way.
Excellent, thank you.
So you've seen all the clamps hanging on the wall, and some of you might recognize the I've started hanging cabinets on the walls. Try to get the camera going here. Excuse my photography here. So I have all this open wall space that I started to try to optimize. So I made a cabinet at the beginning of the pandemic. I made a cabinet to hold most of my hand tools. And I brought that with me and hung it up. And then I have a lot of my layout tools on that wall too, but I'm still not done. I need to make a small tool holder for all my chisels and squares. And I need to make something to hold all my cordless tools because right now they're just on the windowsills. And of course, listening to Sharon, I need to have a first aid kit. And yes, Sharon, I have my tourniquet in there now too. So that's on the north facing wall. And then we'll go through here. And then on the west facing wall, I have all my long clamps stored here. And then on this one wall here, I'm actually going to make a fold down shelf. This is future projects. I'm going to make a fold down shelf that's going to fold down from the wall to here. And it's going to hold my veneer bag. So I'm going to store my veneer press underneath this bench. And I could have a 3 foot by 5 foot table to lay out the veneer bag with. And I could do all my veneer pressing coming down from this wall, but yet put it up whenever I don't need the table for veneer pressing. And I should have prefaced this at the beginning. What I'm looking for is everyone's thoughts on what I could do better to improve this shop. And I'll give you my email address in the end. So you can help me better understand what I could do here. Okay, so this area is where the 2 bandsaws are. So I have a 14-inch Laguna that I absolutely love. And the reason I bought this was because after using the one in the shop, it's an awesome machine. I keep a 1/4 inch blade on this all the time. It's the right size blade for this bandsaw. And then I have a 17-inch that I keep a 1/2 inch blade on that I mostly use for resaw or roughing out bowl blanks. You can see here, start to see the beginning of my dust collection system. And that was one of the hardest things that I've had to do so far is dust collection. And we'll see when we get around to the dust collector, trying to get all of the fittings together down to where it comes from the dust collector to your machine without just using flex hose is an absolute challenge. And just when you go to do it in your shop, the only thing I recommend is that you just have a lot of patience because you're going to need it in making up your dust collection system.
Hey, Doug.
Yes.
Your desire to avoid the flexible tubing, is that due to how it dampens the suction capacity?
Well, there's that. And then also the distance part. That's a great question, Travis. Thanks. So the furthest distance from the dust collector to the furthest point on my CNC machine is about 45 feet. So
Whoa.
I didn't want to use flexible hosing just for that distance.
Got it.
Okay, I'm going to roll my card around here. And you can see this is my lathe area here. So I've got the 1836 Laguna that I brought down and got since I gotten here because after watching some of Dan and Mary's work, I knew that I had to get a lot better at using my lathe. So I had the bigger lathe now, and then I still have my small 12-inch, and I bought a little cart to keep all my chucks and small parts in for lathe. So can you see this? When I'm holding
Yes.
up the T? Okay, sorry. This is what I started out with, trying to put the dust collection system together, and it ends up being Schedule 30 pipe. But the opening diameter of this did not match up any of the fittings that you go through to get to a 4-inch dust collector system. And it certainly wouldn't match up to any of the blast gates when you go to a 4-inch Schedule 30. Now, had I had a 3D printer, I could have made adapter rings for all of this, but I didn't have a 3D printer, nor did I want to take the time to learn how to use it because I'm an impatient person. I went ahead and got Schedule 40 pipe for all of my dust collection system. The only challenge there is the weight and the cost. So each one of the elbows and fittings are about $35 to $40 for each fitting, but it was still much cheaper than an all metal dust collection system.
Hey, Doug, just so you
Yes.
know, there are times when we only see your torso. So we
Okay.
hear your voice, but we don't see you.
Okay.
Also, just so you know, there's a 3D printer class tomorrow if you'd like to come back and take it.
I'll take the red eye tonight and get into it. So yeah, so I will tell you, so in my dust collection system, and I want everybody's opinion on this, one of the things that I've read about is static electricity within using PVC piping. And I'd love to get everyone's thoughts on that. And email me when you get a chance. My email address is D as in dog, K as in kite, GLESS@yahoo.com. And I'd love to get your opinions or your experiences on using PVC for dust collection, and just to make sure that I don't burn my shop down by doing the wrong thing. Okay. I'm going to try to get you down over here. Okay, so I have my table saw. I have my table saw on my joiner pretty much right next to each other. And this starts to run for the dust collection system. So I went with 6-inch down to the biggest part of the main. And whenever I had a tool, I dropped down from 6-inch to 4-inch. And I have a blast gate for each one. And I tell you, the 6-inch made a big difference. It is super, super efficient. And I'm going to turn it on and show you how quiet it is. So my dust collection system is running right now, and I don't know how much background noise you can hear, but it's pretty awesome how quiet it is. And I was able to seal up a lot of the joints after I put them together, and I really have very little loss of suction.
Hey, Doug, do you have that system, that dust extraction system, in a insulated, isolated, soundproofed room, or?
Yeah, great question. We're going to walk around that.
Great.
So that was part of my research, was to find a dust collector that wasn't super noisy. So I have a 4.5 dust collector. It's from Grizzly, and it is advertised as the ultra quiet model, which it really is super quiet. So it's less than 62 decibels to see the dust collector itself. It's 62 decibels for the dust collector. So to answer your question, Travis, let's try to see if I can't get a shot here. So part of my planning was to actually put the dust collector in underneath the stairway coming down to the basement. And I got one that measures, for the measurements just fit inside that little niche, that little nook underneath the stairway. I had the contractors insulate it on the inside. And then I have a 6-inch flex hose that has quick disconnects, and I can actually disconnect this at the top or bottom. I can pull this out, empty the drum, restore it all in less than 10 minutes.
Is that we can't see the drum? Is it below your knees?
Oh, hang on. Thank you for bringing that up, Travis.
Oh,
There's the drum. Yeah. So the drum is a 26-gallon drum. It's one of the larger drums. Ironically, since I bought this, they now make a version 2 of this same dust collector that has a lift handle on it, and it lifts up the lid without the latches on the side, and it's really easy to slide the drum out. When I've called to see if I could retrofit mine, but I don't know if it's worth the expense or not. They want $360 for the extra parts. So I haven't decided if I'm going to upgrade that yet or not. But you can hear it with the door open. You can hear it's still fairly quiet. But then by the time you even shut the door, it gets, I mean, it's easy to hold a conversation in here when the dust collector's running. The part that I haven't figured out that I could use anyone's help with is I can't use my remote unless the door is open and the IR signal goes to the receiver on the dust collector. So I need a smart electronics guy to help guide me through how I could make a remote or something that I could get the dust collector to work with the door closed.
Doug, conceptually, they make these repeaters, which used to be used with remote controls for TVs. I'll send you a link. I'll send you a link in Amazon to something
Awesome.
that might pick up the signal in the room and then repeat it near where your dust collection receiver is.
Awesome, awesome. And then we start to go towards the back of the shop. So the entire shop is 44 feet long from one end of the wall to the other. That's the full length of the basement. So even though I have a 20-inch planer in the dirty garage, I went ahead and got a smaller planer so I could mill up my boards after I do glue up. And I got a 13-inch DeWalt down here tied into the dust collection system. And I can do a 4-foot length board, which is plenty enough for me because I'll be honest, I don't do a lot of case goods at all. I do mostly smaller projects that fit inside a 2-foot square box. And then after that, I have the 18-inch open-ended drum sander. It looks like it's kind of crooked right now because it is. So if all the other shops I've had to have this on a mobile base to be able to pull away from the wall, use it, and then put it back. This is going to be the permanent site for this for the drum sander. And I've been trying to get Grizzly to send me a metal stand that I could set this up with. And I have had parts on order for 3 months now. And they're saying it may be the end of this month before I can get the rest of the braces to go ahead and put the stand, with the drum sander on the stand where it's going to be permanently established. So this connection for the dust collector is going to be up here, going to be mounted to the side of the drum sander. And this is the only connection that I have yet to finish up for the whole dust collection system. Oh, did I show you the elevator? I don't think I did I? Sorry. So, not to make you guys dizzy or anything. So that is my restrictions on getting things in and out of the shop. Like I said, it's 34 and a half inches wide is my largest constraint. But when the movers brought everything down, I was so thankful that we had this elevator, because the turn radius on the stairway would not have let me brought everything down to the shop. And
Hey,
then
Doug?
yes,
Do you have pads to protect those beautiful walls when you put big things into it?
great question. So what I have is masonite panels that I tape up to the walls. And if I bring something in or out, I'll tape those up to the walls and then take them down when I'm done moving something.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Hey, Doug.
So, yes.
It's Alan. Weren't you an engineer in the Navy? Don't you remember how to make those ladders where they come loose and your stairs fall down and you got pulleys and blocks and stuff?
Well, if I was still on a metal hull ship, I would know how to do that. But seeing how I'm constrained by building code, I can't do that anymore. But thanks for reminding me, Alan. So
there you go.
The area behind the lathe area is the machinery room for the elevator itself. That ate up, probably 100 square feet of space. And then I went ahead and had a full bath added down here in the shop, in the basement, because sometimes when I turn on the lathe, I'll get sawdust all the way down into my socks. It's just a mess.
What is that room, Doug?
So I'm sorry. Down this hall is the bathroom.
Oh, bathroom. Got it.
Yeah. So to the right is the stairway. To the left is the bathroom. And then I'm going to try to maneuver around here. Bear with me. And that door, I don't know if you can see that door or not. That door is the mechanical room that has the furnace, the hot water heater, and the water treatment system. So that ate up another 80 square feet. So between the bathroom and the machinery room and elevator machinery room, I ended up with about 1,100 square feet of usable space. Now I'm going to try to maneuver through here. Bear with me. I'm not going to make it easy here, I promise. So one of the things I added was cabinets. And again, a lot of what I did was modeled after our member shop in San Diego, because to be honest, a lot of great minds went together to make that up, and it works. It really does. So instead of taking the time to make my own cabinets, it was actually cheaper just to go to Lowe's and buy these kitchen cabinets that were pre-made that had a top shelf for $125. And with the cost of materials now, it was so much more cost effective just to go ahead and do that. But what I did do was put slide outs like we have at the member shop. And here is my Festool garage. I don't know if you can see that or not.
Yep.
Okay. So I have all my Festools stored here. And every cabinet along the way has, it's got slide outs for all the different smaller stuff. Try to help keep things organized.
Hey, Doug, there's been a
yes.
recurring question about the voltage you have there. Do you have both 110 and 220, or did you do everything on a 110?
Great question. So one of the things that I had to do was put in 220. Let me back up. I had to put in a 150 amp sub panel to supply all my shop equipment down here. I had 5 machines that were 220. So the joiner, the 17-inch bandsaw, the table saw, the big lathe, and the 20-inch joiner in the dirty garage are all 220. All the rest of them are 210 or 110, sorry.
Thank you.
So, yes, so I should probably pull this down here, hang on. So I went ahead and tried to create a permanent sharpening station. So I have my Tormex knockoff from Grizzly. Here, it works just the same. And after watching Paul's videos and talking to Dallas online, the Tormex accessories all work with this same grinder, and this grinder is only $140 as opposed to the $900 you'll spend for the Tormex, and it does the very same thing. You just have to get the accessories from Tormex for whatever you're doing. And then the water tray was actually from Amazon for 20 bucks. So you can get a full-size sheet cape tray for 20 bucks from Amazon, and it'll keep all the water from your grinder. And I set my whetstones right on here in a rubber mat, and I'll just pull out my whetstones here. And I have them all in the drawer right here, and I'll just pull out my whetstones and use them, and then let them dry and put them back when I'm done. But all my yes.
Which grinder did you have there, which was Tormec compliant?
It was the Grizzly, hang on a second, I'll read you the number. It was the Grizzly T1001.
Great, thank you.
Yep. And you can find it on Grizzly's website, and it's got the leather strop and the grinding wheel. It is slow speed, just like the Tormec, and it really does the same thing.
It's really a knockoff. It actually uses the same accessories as Tormec.
Yep.
It is a knockoff. Yes, thank you, Dallas. So one of the other things I did after I got my base cabinets in was to make some open shelving. The cost of the upper cabinets were almost as much as one of the lower cabinets. So my shop assistant, my dad, and I went to Home Depot and found the melamine. We just milled that up or cut it up, used dominoes to put everything together, and then just hung those on hangers, angle hangers, and it just that holds up the upper cabinets. And it's open storage for glue, sandpaper, finishing material, all the stuff just like we do at the member shop. And it's really super convenient. And then down here towards the end, I have my lathe grinder is all set up. So that will always be in place whenever I need to come over to sharpen the set of lathe chisels and then go back to the lathe and get started. Then I've kept my toolbox and my shop vacuum back here. And I haven't even got to the shop vac yet, to be honest. I was fortunate to win the CT15 Festool shop vac in a raffle drawing. I bought tickets for 20 years and never won 5 cents. But I won that Festool shop vac, which is awesome. My only complaint about it is there's no place to store the hose. So you're constantly fighting with the hose. On the standards on the vacuums that they make for the tools, they have a garage to put your hose in, but there's no garage on the regular dust on the shop vac portion of Festool. So you're always constantly fighting with the hose to try to find out where you can put the hose at. So I'm going to show you maybe the rest of this. So in the back is a kind of a store-all shelving system. I keep my veneer, all that kind of stuff, loose stuff back there in the back, glue bottles, my glass cutting stuff. I still do a little bit of stained glass. And then on the bottom is my air compressor, Festool vacuum, as well as my HVLP down there also. Then we start getting over to, unfortunately, my least used tool in the shop is my CNC machine, because I just need to get a lot smarter on how to use this. I really do.
Okay, Doug, I'm dropping off.
Okay, take care.
No, I'm saying, if you're not going to use the CNC, I'm leaving.
Oh, no, I need to get a lot smarter on this, I really do. But to that point, my dust collector comes all the way down here, and I've got I haven't hooked up the hose yet, but I've got a 4-inch drop down to my CNC machine here for my CNC. So this runs the length of the shop. It's 38 feet from one end to the other on the dust collection system. Then I kept the scroll saw there next that I could pull out and use really easy. I've got the router table set up along the wall. One of the things I did was I never had enough electrical in any shop that I've ever had. So when they built this, I had them put in an outlet every 2 feet on this wall. So I've got basically 24 feet of outlets as I go along. And I'm never short of electrical to plug something in, even if it's my HVLP sprayer or any of my festoons. I can always plug it in right to the wall, and it's convenient wherever I'm working at. This wall, the next portion, you will see that is pretty much blank. That is going to be where my two sanders are. I have the 12-inch disc and the 48-inch belt combination sander coming, and then I have the spindle sander coming, just like we have in a member shop. So I ordered those in the middle of March. So the combination sander is coming 25 May, they hope. The spindle sander, believe it or not, won't come in until 30 September. The back order of product coming in to suppliers is crazy. It truly is crazy on how long it's taking for things to get in. And then here I have the drill press up against the wall. That's kind of a convenient place. And let me spin you around here a little bit. Sorry, I don't mean to make you dizzy. And then this is kind of a snapshot of the open area. So I have a length of about 20 feet between machines down here. And what I like to try to use this for is if I bring a 4x4 sheet of plywood down, I can lay it out here and use a track saw. Love my track saw, use it for everything. I'll lay out my track saw and I'll break pieces down here. Or if I need to assemble something, I'll use this area down here. But again, I'm looking for more ideas on how I can better utilize this open space here. So if anybody has any thoughts, I'd love to hear them.
Hey, Doug, since
Yes.
you showed us where the edge sander is going to go, you have been out of focus on the camera. So I don't know if there's something you can do to bring us back into focus. Also, just so everybody knows, I put Doug's email address into the chat. So if you have ideas, either put them here in the chat or the email address is there and you can write him afterwards. I mean, we've heard several times here, he would really love some feedback on ideas. So write the guy, he's lonely out there in Dayton.
Right? It's crazy the camera went out of focus. I don't know how to fix that, to be honest. So one of the other things that I planned in the shop was a ceiling. So in my ceiling, I don't know if you can see all the light fixtures. These are, initially I was gonna have just drywall, but the electrician called me and said, hey, I think you're making a mistake. You should have a drop ceiling. It's easier to put light fixtures in And if you change your electrical requirements later on, it's easy to do that when you have a drop ceiling. So I took his advice and I'm so glad I did. So they have these 2 foot by 2 foot panel lights that are all LED. So I have 28 light fixtures inside the shop. It is just like being outside. And all of them together only use 4 watts of power when they're running. And it's incredibly efficient, and it is so bright, it's not even funny. It's really not.
Hey, Doug, you
so-
have this
yes.
shop downstairs and nobody has seen any wood. There, you have a wood shop with no wood, is that correct?
Well, I did clean up before the show, Travis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So great point though. So I mostly store my wood up in my dirty garage, and then I'll rough it to size before I bring anything down for a project. So right before I got here, my dad is really big into auctions and estate sales. So he went to a couple of auctions and found 500 board feet of walnut, cherry, and maple, predominantly walnut. And he bought it, and it's like, wow, Dad, that's a lot of wood. So it filled up a lot of my dirty garage with walnut, and I'm trying to work my way through that now, trying to make something. So, but to answer your question, Travis, that's where I keep a lot of the wood is in the 3rd car garage, and then I'll break it. I have to have just a little cordless handsaw. I'll, saw 2 feet or 4 feet off of it, and then bring it down to the shop and process it down here with whatever I'm trying to make.
Great, thank you.
Yep. So that is pretty much my shop. Questions? Anybody have any questions?
Yeah,
Comments?
there's a couple questions on the chat. One was asking about your blast gates. What kind are they, and do they plug up?
What kind of what?
Blast gates.
Oh, blast gates. Great question. So, hang on a second. I could get one and show you. So, I would highly recommend going with the self-cleaning blast gate, meaning that there's foam on the inside of this surface that will clean the debris off the blast gate. I actually got these at Woodcraft. We don't have a Rockler here where I'm at in Dayton. It's down in Cincinnati, about 65 miles from my house. But they have a Woodcraft here that's really convenient. And I bought these from Woodcraft. They're 4-inch aluminum blast gates. They were $18 a piece. And I have, I want to say, 12 of them installed throughout the shop. But they're well worth the money. And they're so easy to connect to your PVC piping, and they really hold a good seal when you have the dust collection system on. And I found them very durable through the whole process. Great question, though. Any other questions, comments?
Doug, it's Avis here. Do you have all of your tools on casters so you can move them around? I noticed that the bandsaws were up against the wall. I'm just wondering, if you do, what kind of casters you're using?
So great question, Avis. That is kind of left over from my previous shop. I just didn't take the mobile bases off. However, my thought process was, if I have to, let's say I have to resaw a board that's 8 feet long, I can just pull that a couple of feet away from the wall, still connected to the dust collection system, rip an 8-foot board, and then roll it back against the wall when I'm done. So my router is the same way. It's still on casters. If I need to route something that's 6 feet long, I can pull it away. I can pull it easily away from the wall. Here, let me, kind of show you here. I can easily roll this away from the wall, still connected to my dust collection system. I could route a 6 or 8 foot piece across, make a profile, and then just slide it back when I'm done. So even though they have designated spots where I want things, they're still somewhat mobile and functional, utilizing all of this open area that I have too.
Yeah, you've got a lot of that.
Well, I do. And again, this was my lifelong dream to have a shop that I'm going to retire in. And this is my forever home. This is my forever workshop. And again, I've only had my tools here for 3 months. So I was hesitant to do this, but it's like Jim Bradbury said, your shop is never going to be done, and he's truly right. I will always be adding things to the walls or rearranging something and adding something to the shop to make it more efficient as we go along.
Hey, Doug, it's Dallas.
Yes, sir.
I just want to comment, at the beginning of your session, you mentioned the class that David Wiseman's doing on setting up a workshop.
Yes.
You attributed that to me. I did not do that. That's David Wiseman's the one who proposed it and developed it, and it really looks to be an exciting class.
I can't wait to see it. He sent me the PowerPoint that he's going to go over in the class, and it is spot on for everything that I ran across in starting up my shop from 3 months ago to where I'm at today. Absolutely spot on.
This class is going to be a 2-hour session, and it's going to cover everything that Doug described in setting up a shop, but it also would be useful for someone who has an existing shop and is considering things like lighting or electrical or tool placement, or even which tool should I buy first or what should I buy next. We haven't run the class yet, but we are going to be doing a beta session. David's going to be doing a beta session on the 19th of May at 7 p.m.
Yeah.
And we're doing that by invitation only. If you would like to be a part of the beta and you will be willing to provide us feedback, you'll commit to being there, provide the feedback. We're going to make this a complimentary one for a handful of people, so we get a test class, run through a test and learn what we can from doing the class. But I think it'd be really worthwhile. If you're interested in participating with that and would like to be part of the beta, shoot me an email. I'll put my email in chat so you have that available. But be watching on the education website if you would like to take the full class, the regular class. I'm sure we'll be offering it in our summer session, which will begin in July.
Excellent, excellent. On the backside of that, so everybody got to see my shop today. It's nothing like the shop tours that have been before, because I don't nearly have as big of a shop as somebody like Dell or Mike McElhaney that we had last month. But the one thing I would suggest is maybe we could look at having a open session every other month, that if people have a question or a problem in their shop and want to address it, maybe we could isolate and have 15-minute segments where somebody's trying to resolve something in their shop, that the audience, we have a ton of wealth of knowledge in our audience, and maybe somebody could help figure out how to overcome that problem within their shop, and kind of keep these shop tours going and a problem-solving mentality too. Just a thought.
Great idea, Doug.
Just a thought. So, okay, any other questions about my barren shop?
I think we're envious, Doug. That nice shop is nice.
Well, go ahead.
I moved to a bigger area. My shop is bigger, but nothing like that. That is impressive.
That's the Cadillac of shops. That's really nice, Doug.
It's a start. It's a good place to deviate from. I will tell you, my biggest challenge absolutely was trying to get all the dust collection system laid out and mounted to the walls and getting them to the tools. That literally took me 3 weeks in the last 3 weeks. So that's the thing I'm probably most proud of, is the dust collection, because I've never had one as efficient as what I have now. So, but I'm looking forward to making more projects for the gift sale, and that's my challenge now.
Hey,
I've
for
got a couple of quick questions, Doug.
I'm sorry. Yes.
Doug, how do you get out of there in a hurry? And has your father forgiven you for breaking the bandsaw?
I'm sorry, Chris, say that again. I could barely hear you.
Has your father forgiven you for the bandsaw? And how do you get out of the shop in a hurry?
Oh, great, two great questions. I had to work to pay for that blade for 25 cents an hour until I could pay off the replacement blade from my grandfather. And the window that you saw at the beginning of the session, that is actually the egress window. So that's where you get out and in the event of an emergency or a fire. That window opens up, you crawl through the window and just scurry up to the yard from there.
And one other quick one. How many
Yes, Chris.
circuits do you have on your wall mounts so you don't overpower it with 3 or 4?
So because that's a great question, even though I have like 12 or 14 outlets on this wall, they're all on one 20 amp circuit, but I've never had to use more than one at a time. So I have plenty of power. It's just a matter of convenience, keeping things plugged in that I don't have to go back and unplug and replug something in, for the drill press or the planer. The one that I didn't plan for well was the small planer. That's actually on an extension cord, but I'm going to have the electrician make me a permanent drop for that. There's enough room left on the panel. But all the other machinery outside, away from that wall, they each have their own dedicated circuit.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Great question.
So guys, just a separate note for those of you at the shop, you know that we have that big, beautiful lathe coming from Robust. We got word yesterday that they have shipped it and it will be here likely next Friday.
Very nice. You're going to need a lot of help to get that thing off the truck and into the shop.
I'm sure we will.
Doug, congratulations on an excellent job. This is Gary. As long as we've got all these people online, in addition to Dallas's announcement just now, I've got another one. We've just secured a speaker for our May general meeting. His name is Jeff Vollmer, and I think I'm really excited about him. I think it's going to be a very entertaining presentation. Jeff is a nationally known puzzle box maker.
Oh, very nice.
He actually teaches a class in making puzzle boxes at Mark Adams, if you can imagine. So the man really knows his stuff. If you want a preview, you can go onto YouTube. He's got a number of YouTube videos and makes some incredible boxes and has an incredible piece of equipment, a bandsaw from Switzerland that has a blade that is less than 1/16 of an inch that he uses for cutting out these puzzle boxes, if you can imagine. So it really should be a fascinating presentation. So if you haven't already marked your calendar for the May general meeting, you might want to do that.
Excellent. And I'd also like to give a shout out to my local woodworking club, Western Ohio Woodworkers. Wow. We have online today the president, Dave Mosier, and a couple of other fellas that run the shop tour and our local Zoom commander also. So I'm transitioning. I'm never leaving SDFWA, but I'm also migrating over to my fellow termites here locally in Dayton too, which I'm looking forward to meeting all of them this next Monday night at our local pizza event.
They'd be welcome to come to our general meeting presentation as well. So please.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, any more questions about the shop or for me?
No questions. I just want to say, Doug, how much we miss you and just are super happy for you that you got what you've been dreaming of for so long.
Thanks, Avis.
Yeah,
It's
wonderful.
great
We really miss
to
you.
great to catch up with everybody. It really was.
Hey Doug, this is Josh.
Yes, Josh.
I apologize if you already mentioned this, but what type of router tabletop is that?
So great question, Josh. So I went ahead and got the Jessam router top and their lift system. I've used a couple of them, but I've had my Jessam for about 8 years now, and I've never had one lick of trouble with it at all. And their tabletop wasn't bad. It was about $100 for the tabletop. And then the lift system, they have various levels of complexity for their lift system.
Thank you.
But if you get one of these setups, highly recommend getting the Porter Cable 3.5 horsepower motor because it rocks. You can buy just the motor for the router lift system itself. Great question, Josh. Any other questions?
Okay, thanks, Doug.
Okay, thanks, folks. I appreciate your time, and thanks for coming to visit. And looking forward to seeing everybody next month when I'm back in San Diego for 10 days for my son's graduation.
Ah, great.
Thanks,
Thanks, Doug.
Thanks, Doug.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
thanks, guys.
Bye, Doug.
Thank you. Take care.
Okay.
Thanks, Doug.
Yep.